I'm Emily. Welcome to Scars and Stories. If you like storytime vibes, hit subscribe and let's dive in together.
And today's story, it begins not with suspicion, not with a fight, but with the quiet beeping of hospital machines. Because sometimes the most devastating truths are revealed when we least expect them. Noah thought he was simply being a supportive fiancé. He had taken the afternoon off work to be at the hospital for Genevieve's minor procedure. Nothing dangerous, nothing life-altering, just routine surgery she had postponed too long. He stood near the bed, watching the monitors hum their steady rhythm, while Genevieve's mother, Charlotte, sat opposite him, scrolling on her phone like she wanted to disappear into the glowing screen. The anesthesiologist adjusted the IV drip. The nurse checked Genevieve's vitals. All was calm, until Genevieve, drifting between wakefulness and sedation, opened her mouth and mumbled words that would change Noah's life forever. I slept with his best friend twice. The syllables were slurred but unmistakable. The words fell heavy in the sterile air. Noah froze. His heart slammed in his chest, like someone had dropped a cinder block inside. 2 feet away, Charlotte's head snapped up. Her eyes darted to her daughter, then to Noah. Her face blanched, but she didn't look shocked enough. The nurse stiffened, pretending to busy herself with the monitor. The anesthesiologist cleared his throat like he hadn't heard a thing, but everyone had. Noah stared at Genevieve's slack lips, her face soft and peaceful, as if nothing had happened. No idea she had just confessed to sleeping with his best friend. Not once, but twice. Denial was Noah's first instinct. People said strange things under sedation, didn't they? But no, it hadn't sounded random. The phrasing was precise, damning. He turned to the anesthesiologist. His voice came out low, sharp. Does this happen? Do people say things they don't mean when they're sedated? The man adjusted his glasses nervously. Patients can talk under anesthesia, yes. Sometimes it's nonsense. Sometimes it's the truth. The brain loses its filter. Wrong answer. Noah's pulse spiked. He looked at Charlotte. She looked pale, but her reaction wasn't of someone blindsided. It was the reaction of someone caught. Her phone slipped in her hand, and she didn't pick it up right away. "You knew," Noah whispered. Charlotte pressed her lips tight. "Noah, this isn't the time." "Not the time," his voice trembled. "Your daughter just confessed to sleeping with Logan, twice, and you." He stopped himself before shouting in the recovery room. The nurse was flushed red, clearly listening. Charlotte leaned closer, hissing, "Keep your voice down. She's not herself, not herself." That was specific, twice. With my best friend, Charlotte's jaw clenched. She looked like she wanted to vanish. "You can't take anesthesia talk as gospel." "Then why do you look guilty?" Noah shot back. "Why do you look like you already knew?" Her composure cracked. "Because I warned her this would happen," she muttered. Noah blinked. "What?" Realizing her mistake, Charlotte shook her head quickly. "I mean, she talks in her sleep sometimes." I didn't think it was serious, but Noah knew. That slip was enough. Charlotte had known something, maybe for months, maybe longer. She had covered for her daughter. The beeping of Genevieve's heart monitor grew louder in Noah's ears, a metronome ticking toward an explosion. He backed away, chest tight. He wanted to shake Genevieve awake, demand the truth. But she lay there, pale and unconscious, her hand limp beneath the hospital blanket. She wouldn't remember this moment, but he would, for the rest of his life. The nurse tried gently. "Sir, maybe step outside." Patients say things. Best not to overthink, Noah laughed bitterly. Not overthink? She just confessed to screwing my best friend. Twice. How do I not overthink that? Charlotte rose from her chair, her voice firm. If you care about Genevieve, you'll keep this to yourself. It was nonsense. Do not humiliate her. That word, humiliate, hit Noah like a slap. Not clear her name, not find the truth. Just don't humiliate her. Charlotte wasn't after truth. She was after preservation. Protect the image, protect her daughter. Noah leaned close, voice like steel. If she really slept with Logan, everyone will know. I'll make sure of it. Charlotte's eyes went cold. The mask slipped, and for a moment, Noah saw the ruthless mother beneath. Be careful, she whispered. Some things, once exposed, can't be undone. He turned and walked out before his rage boiled over. The sterile halls blurred. Laughter from passing nurses, a janitor's mop squeaking on the floor, visitors carrying flowers. Life moved normally, while his world tilted off its axis. In the parking lot, Noah sat in his car gripping the steering wheel until his knuckles whitened. The puzzle pieces rearranged in his mind. Nights Genevieve claimed to be at her mom's. Times Logan bailed on their plans. A weekend Genevieve visited a cousin while Logan mysteriously disappeared too. Little things he'd brushed aside. Now they blared like neon signs. He scrolled through old texts on his phone. A message from Logan months ago, canceling a guy's night last minute. That same night, Genevieve had returned late, claiming her mother kept her for dinner. And Charlotte, she had been the alibi. The betrayal wasn't just Genevieve's. Charlotte had played her part. That night, Noah couldn't sleep. Each time he closed his eyes, he heard Genevieve's slurred confession. I slept with his best friend twice. By morning, he'd made up his mind. He wouldn't storm in demanding answers. He wouldn't let them twist it, gaslight him, make him look paranoid. He needed proof. Irrefutable proof. When Genevieve came home 2 days later, moving slowly after surgery, Noah played, the attentive fiancé. He brought her soup, adjusted her pillows, kissed her forehead. She smiled at him with those trusting eyes, and for a moment he wanted to believe it all over again. But every word she spoke felt like another layer of rot covering the truth. When she dozed off, Noah took her phone. He had never snooped before, but now he had to. He scrolled through texts, social media, photos, nothing obvious, too clean. Genevieve wasn't organized. If she was hiding an affair, there should have been traces, unless someone had wiped them. But there were clues, old messages from Logan, conversations that abruptly cut off. A Venmo payment labeled gas but way too large, on the same night Genevieve claimed to be with friends. Noah screenshotted everything, sent it to himself, and deleted the history. Then he put the phone back. The next evening, he arranged to meet Logan for a beer. He needed to look him in the eye. Logan greeted him with a broad grin, slapping his back like nothing was wrong. But Noah noticed the way his eyes shifted. The grin was too wide, the handshake too quick. They sat with drinks. Logan talked about work, eyes darting everywhere but Noah's. So Noah tested him. Man, Genevieve's been acting weird lately. Staying out late? Think she's hiding something? Logan almost choked on his beer. His eyes widened before he forced a laugh. Come on, man. You're just nervous about the wedding. Cold feet. Happens to everyone. The deflection was too quick, too rehearsed. Noah pressed. Maybe. But sometimes I think she's lying about where she goes. You ever notice that? Logan's jaw tightened. His hand gripped the glass hard. Nah, dude, she's loyal. Don't overthink it. The words said one thing, but his body screamed another. Defensive, cornered. Noah forced a smile, changed the subject. Inside, though, he was boiling. The confirmation wasn't in Logan's words, but in the crack in his mask. When Noah returned home, Genevieve was humming in the kitchen, stirring pasta like nothing was wrong. The normalcy made him dizzy. For a moment, he thought he was crazy, but then his phone buzzed with the screenshots he'd saved, the Venmo payment, the memory of Logan's reaction. No, he wasn't crazy. That night, Charlotte called, her voice sharp, commanding. Noah, what Genevieve said in the hospital means nothing. Don't fixate. Focus on the wedding, not pleading, ordering. That was all the proof Noah needed. Charlotte wasn't just a bystander. She was protecting Genevieve's lie with everything she had. He let her speak, nodded into the phone. Then, after they hung up, he started writing everything down. Dates, times, conversations, slips of the tongue. He wasn't just chasing truth anymore. He was building a case. And then came the first real breakthrough. Genevieve claimed she was going to bed early one night. Noah turned on the TV, flicked through streaming apps. Out of habit, he clicked into Logan's old Netflix profile. They had shared accounts back when they were roommates. The recently watched list told a story. Late-night movies logged on the same nights Genevieve had been homesick at her mom's. It lined up too perfectly. She hadn't been at home. She'd been with Logan, careless, reckless, but finally undeniable. That was when Noah realized he needed more than just clues. He needed a trap, so he set one. He told Genevieve he had to travel for work, gone for 2 nights. He packed a bag, kissed her cheek, drove off like he was heading to the airport. Instead, he parked at a friend's house and booked a cheap motel room. The first night, Genevieve played innocent. She texted him photos of takeout containers, a blanket on the couch. But on the second night, her story cracked. She said she was helping her mom with groceries. Yet when Noah drove past Charlotte's house, her car wasn't there. Porch light off. Half an hour later, Noah spotted Genevieve's car parked 2 blocks from Logan's apartment. She thought she was clever, not pulling up front. But Noah knew her car, knew the dent in the bumper. He waited. An hour later, Genevieve slipped out of Logan's building. Hood pulled low, glancing around like a thief. Logan followed moments later, grinning at something she'd said. He kissed her quickly before she hurried off. It wasn't suspicion anymore, it was truth. The anesthesia hadn't lied. Noah gripped the steering wheel so hard it nearly cracked. His first instinct was to drag Logan into the street and beat him bloody. But no, that would make him the aggressor. They would twist it, call him unstable. Instead, he drove back to his motel, heart hammering but mind sharpening. He wrote everything down again: timestamps, confession, Charlotte's slip, Logan's reaction, the Netflix logs, the sighting at the apartment. Piece by piece, he was assembling an airtight case. Noah wakes before dawn the next day, the motel air stale, the ceiling creaking with footsteps from the room above. He sits at the small desk with the laminated surface, spreads out what he has, screenshots of Genevieve's Venmo labeled gas with a number too high for a fill-up, old conversations with Logan that went eerily silent, a list of nights Genevieve claimed Mom kept me for dinner, matched to activity on Logan's streaming profile. He writes dates, times, cross-references each one, draws arrows in a cramped, blocky hand he barely recognizes. Methodical, cold. A part of him hates this new version of himself, but a larger, steadier part understands that strategy is survival. When he finally drives home, Genevieve is at the stove, hair up, a blanket thrown over her shoulders. She smiles without the slightest crack. "You're home early," she says, pouring him coffee, moving close enough that the steam fogs the rim of his glasses. "Flight get in on time?" "Yeah," he lies easily. "No delays." He watches the way she tucks a strand of hair behind her ear, the way her eyes flit to his face and away again. The choreography of a practiced deceiver. He wonders how long she has been rehearsing this performance. Weeks, months. He showers, dresses, answers emails as if his life isn't on fire, and then he steps outside for air. His hands shake once, violently, the tremor racing through his arms and out. He exhales and it passes. When he goes back in, Genevieve has set 2 bowls on the table, oatmeal with cinnamon and a few blueberries lined up like punctuation. She is humming. There's a faint smell of her shampoo, clean and floral. For a second, his body remembers comfort. Then his mind asks, what was she humming the night she slipped her hood up and walked out of Logan's building? He thanks her. He eats. He makes a joke about the coffee being stronger than he is this morning. She laughs, and he wonders if she knows she's laughing at the man she's made a fool of. If she knows that he is done being the fool. That afternoon, fate, or maybe justice, nudges him. He's leaving a grocery store with a carton of eggs and a loaf of bread when he sees her. A woman at the end of aisle 6, hands trembling as she tries to steady a bag of oranges that keeps slumping over itself. At first, he only notices her because pain recognizes pain. Her eyes are raw, red at the edges. She looks like someone who hasn't slept, like someone who's been saying, "I'm fine," to avoid falling apart in public. He takes a step past her, then stops. Logan had mentioned a girlfriend in passing months ago, dismissive, a quick, "she's too clingy," followed by an eye roll. He'd never introduced her to the group. No dinners, no double dates. Keep the world separate. Keep the lies clean. "Hi," Noah says, careful, gentle. "You're Allison, right?" Her head snaps up. There's a tiny moment where she calculates whether to pretend she doesn't know him. It dissolves fast. She knows his name. It lands between them like a dropped plate. "You're Noah," she says. "Genevieve's fiancé." He nods. Neither of them says the words they're thinking. Logan, cheating, lies. Instead, he lowers his voice. Has he been acting strange? She huffs out a breath that is not quite a laugh. Strange is his default, she says. And then the brittle sarcasm breaks. He disappears. He lies about work. Last week I saw a charge. From a restaurant he swears he's never set foot in. I called him on it. He called me paranoid. Her mouth twists. I hate that word. The oranges slip again and spill 2 over the card edge. He catches them and sets them back, and that small, ordinary kindness is enough to topple a different kind of wall. She looks at him like he's given permission for truth. Her eyes glisten and she blinks hard. "Genevieve," he says simply. Allison's face crumples with recognition and relief and horror. The confirmation hurts, but it also frees. "I thought," she starts, then stops. She doesn't know whether to apologize to him or to herself for not trusting her gut. "Let's sit," he suggests. They take 2 seats on a bench near the automatic doors where the air blows too cold. People pass with carts and chatter and weekend plans. In the churn of normal life, they trade the pieces of a hidden story. He tells her about the hospital, the confession under anesthesia, Charlotte's face when the words landed, the nurse pretending not to listen, the way Genevieve's lips moved around a truth she never meant to say out loud, and how the room felt suddenly too tight, too bright. Allison tilts her head. She said it in front of her own mother? She asks, incredulous and wounded on his behalf. He nods, and Charlotte looked cornered. Less shocked than terrified, I'd make a scene. She warned me not to humiliate Genevieve. Allison swallows anger. Of course she did. He goes on. The Venmo, the streaming profile, the night in the car watching Genevieve slip out of Logan's building with her hood pulled low like she was running a heist instead of destroying a life. He tells her he's building a record, that he refuses to be the man who rages and gets labeled unstable. She listens, then offers her own ledger. The nights Logan didn't come home, the times he borrowed money and paid back just enough to keep her acquiescent. The excuses that sounded like lines from a bad script. How he made her feel crazy when she asked for honesty. He keeps his devices locked, she says, cheeks flushed with the humiliation of knowing she's been excluded from the truth inside her own relationship. But I still have a key to his place. He doesn't know Noah hesitates. This could get messy. It's already messy, she says, and there is a new steel in her voice that both of them recognize. If he made us the last to know, we'll make sure we're the ones who end it. They exchange numbers. She texts him so he has her contact. Just Allison, I'm done being blind. And they part with the kind of hug strangers give each other when their griefs overlap. That night, Noah goes home and measures his breath before he opens the door. Genevieve is on the couch under that same blanket. She looks up from a bridal magazine and smiles. Pick the color for the napkins, she says, perky. Ivory or pearl? I trust your taste, he replies, and he means it in the coldest way. He stands behind her and watches her flip pages. Beside the couch, her phone lights up with a notification, a text from Charlotte. He reads only the preview. It's enough. We should talk about the registry. And don't bring up the hospital. He steps into the kitchen so she won't see his face. He doesn't want to awaken suspicion. Not yet. Around 9, Charlotte calls him. She always calls at 9, as if rigid scheduling can make chaos behave. He lets it ring twice and answers. Noah, she says, voice smooth. How's our girl feeling? Our girl, he repeats softly, filing away the possessive. I want to remind you, Charlotte continues, what happened at the hospital was nonsense. If you love her, you'll keep your head down, focus on the wedding. What if I love the truth? He asks. He keeps his tone light, almost curious, a man seeking guidance rather than a trap. Truth is complicated, she says. People do foolish things. The important thing is the future, not accountability, he says. Don't be sanctimonious, she snaps, losing the lacquer for a second. Every couple survives a stumble. Did your husband survive yours? The question slides out before he can stop it, and he regrets it immediately. Too sharp, too revealing. But there's a brief silence on the line that tells him more than an answer. He smiles without joy. I guess we all have stumbles. Be careful, Noah, she warns, voice going icy again. Some things once exposed can't be undone. He thanks her for the call and hangs up. He had toggled the recording option right after hello. Her words are captured, clean, every icy syllable. 2 days later, Allison calls, breathless. I'm in, she whispers. He never changed the keypad. I'm inside. Noah is at his desk at work, pretending to care about spreadsheets. His heart spikes and he stands too fast, hitting his knee on the underside. "Get out," he says, instinctively protective. "Allison, this is dangerous." "I'm careful," she says. "He's at work until 6. I know his schedule because he lies with a pattern, and I learned the pattern. Helen, I learned it because I had to." She catches herself on the wrong name and clears her throat. "Noah, sorry, I'm moving quickly." He hears the clack of drawers, the subtle thud of a door closing. "Describe what you see," he says. His voice stays level. His mind is already 5 steps ahead, thinking chain of custody, authenticity, dates, and timestamps. "Phone," she says. "Locked, laptop, fingerprint login." There's a pause, then a satisfied exhale. But he's sloppy. The tablet is open. No passcode. "Are there messages?" he asks. "Plenty." Her voice changes timbre, as if she's stepping into a room and watching a private play from the wings. There's a folder called Spare. He is not subtle. Allison narrates. Genevieve perched on Logan's couch, time-stamped selfies sent back and forth. Genevieve's initials pinned inside a chat where the two of them arrange nights with the code word errand. Genevieve writing, "He'll never suspect a thing." God, he's so literal. And Allison's breath catches. Noah closes his eyes and lets the sentence lodge like a shard. He asks her to send what she can. She starts firing screenshots. He sends her a clean email address he made that morning under a new alias. They follow a method, subject lines with dates, file names that match the timestamps, short notes in the body about context. He thinks like a litigator. She thinks like a woman who has been made small for too long and just rediscovered the size of her anger. Then she gasps, "Oh my God." "What?" "Banking app." He left it open on the tablet. There's an internal note in his budget. Reimburse M when the transfer clears. There are transfers queued from an account labeled Wedding R&P. "Noah, that's you, isn't it?" He feels the world tilt a few degrees. "How much?" She names a number that is too big to be explained away, as a debt for pizza or gas. The floor drops in his stomach. This isn't just sex, it's theft. It's contempt, stitched into numbers. "Send me the screenshots," he says, and then more quietly, because gentleness is a rebellion in moments like this. "And get out." Now she leaves, locking the door behind her, and texts him when she's on the sidewalk. He tells her to go straight to a coffee shop, sit facing the door, keep her back against a wall. She laughs at the spy movie choreography, but she follows it. Fury needs discipline to win. That evening, Noah logs into the wedding account. He had never imagined needing to guard it from the bride. He scrolls past deposits from his paycheck, past receipts for deposits to the venue and the caterer. And there it is, a pending transfer request to an account that bears Logan's name. The description field is empty. Blank fields are where cowards hide. He screenshots the pending transaction from multiple angles, the routing details, the destination. He calls the bank. There's a 10-minute wait, and he spends each minute imagining the call scripts they'll give him. When he gets through, he asks to freeze the account. The representative offers a hesitant apology for the inconvenience. He says nothing about inconvenience because he might start screaming. After the call, he staggers into the kitchen. Genevieve is on the phone in the living room, her voice sweet. That version of herself reserved for Charlotte and Instagram captions. He grips the countertop until the edges cut into his palms and anchors himself in the pain. Back at his desk, he builds a timeline so precise, even doubt would be embarrassed to enter it. On the left, dates. Next column, Genevieve's alibis. Next, Logan's supposed whereabouts. Next, matches from streaming histories. Apartment keycard logs Allison found in an email from the building. Screenshots of chat threads, a Venmo domino trail, and now the call log with Charlotte. He annotates in a neutral tone, like a scientist recording weather patterns. Rage is human. Documentation is justice. That's when the story acquires a new, ugly branch. He hears Genevieve chatter to Charlotte in the other room and catches phrases as they float. Rehearsal dinner, menu, speeches. Dad is writing something short and sweet. Charlotte's tone is all logistics until it isn't. And make sure, she says, the syllables hard as tile, that Noah doesn't have access to the venue's mic until after your father. If he wants to speak, we'll control it. Noah stands very still. The shape of their plan forms: containment, stage management, shielding. They will keep him attended, managed, gently handled like a toddler in a room full of breakables. They believe they can direct him through humiliation like a wedding coordinator cues a shy ring-bearer. He almost laughs. It bubbles up, bitter and clean. They still think he's slow to the punch. They still think this is a game with a tidy script. He texts Allison, "I think they intend to box me out at the rehearsal dinner." She replies in under a minute, "Then we won't ask for the mic. We'll take the room." He types back, "Not yet. We need to gather everything in one place. If we move before we have the whole puzzle, they'll splinter the truth into a dozen maybes." She answers with a thumbs up, and then, "If you need me to speak, I will." I want them to see my face when the lie ends. He stares at her message longer than necessary, grateful down to the bone that he isn't walking alone into a room full of people who think they know him and are about to learn. The next day, he adjusts his plan with a simple thought. Don't tell the truth to the people protecting the lie, show it. He calls a tech-savvy friend, asks discreet questions about mirroring a phone to a TV without obvious cables, about making a slideshow that can be triggered from his pocket, about cleaning metadata so the images preserve dates and times. The friend jokes about a surprise proposal video, and Noah swallows the truth like a stone. He also knows he needs something from Charlotte that isn't just implication. He waits for her nightly call. When it comes, he speaks softly at first. "Charlotte, I've been thinking." "That's never a good sign," she says with a brittle chuckle. The woman never misses a chance to make him feel small. "About the hospital," he continues. "About what you said." "You told me you warned Genevieve's silence." He imagines the hand tightening on the phone, the jaw clenching. "I didn't say that." "You did," he replies. "You said you warned her this would happen." "I meant she talks in her sleep," Charlotte corrects, the syllables clipped. "I meant she rambles about nonsense." "You also told me I'd ruin everything if I told anyone," he says. "You used the word humiliate." "Because I knew you'd do something rash," she snaps. "You men. You roar and bang the table. You make messes women have to clean up." "I'm not roaring," he says, and he isn't. His voice is calm, dangerously calm. "I'm asking you to tell me the truth before the truth tells itself." "Noah," she says, lowering her voice into the register of confidences and scoldings. "This is how adults handle mistakes. We let them pass, we move on. We don't torch our futures because a moment was ugly." "So you admit there was a mistake?" Her composure wavers. "You're twisting me." "I'm listening," he says, "and recording." The word leaves his mouth before he can decide whether to reveal it. He instantly regrets it. A confession is easiest before the subject knows they're in a deposition. "You what?" she hisses. "You've been recording me," he continues smoothly, pretending this was always the plan. "It's smart. You know what you're saying matters." He flips the frame and, for a beat, she is flummoxed, thrown off script. "Noah," Charlotte breathes, regrouping. "You don't want to make enemies you can't afford." "It's a wedding, not a war," he says, "unless you made it one." She hangs up on him. He sits in the silence and listens to the dial tone. He knows he got something valuable even without a confession. The threat, the insistence on burying, the characteristic disdain. The shape of a bully is evidence too. Allison, for her part, is relentless in a way that makes Noah grateful and a little awed. She combs through cloud backups, finds a shared folder. Logan forgot to unshare after a business trip. There are itinerary PDFs, reimbursements, photos of receipts where he has scrawled tips and notes. She zooms in and notices handwriting that matches the chat initials they've already captured. One scribble reads R at L's, and the date aligns with a night Genevieve told Noah she was with her mother. Another note is more damning: transfer after Friday. Friday is the day the wedding account deposits clear from Noah's paycheck. They meet in person at a quiet diner with vinyl booths and a waitress who calls everyone honey. Noah brings a manila envelope. Allison brings a USB drive. They spread their spoils like students cramming for finals. Except this exam will end a life they no longer want. They decide on a rule: no embellishment, no guesswork. Only what they can show on a screen or play in a room. If a question arises, the answer is, "Here's the documentation," not "we think." Truth unvarnished is explosive enough. Over pie neither of them tastes, they plan. Freeze the wedding account. Done. Pull a report from the bank showing the pending transfer and a log of login IP addresses. Collect the streaming logs with dates and align them to Genevieve's alibis. Print the chat threads and put them in chronological order. Record a video of the hospital hallway narration. No, Noah decides, not that. He won't risk the nurse or the anesthesiologist's job. He'll rely on his recording of Charlotte instead. The hospital confession spoke for itself once. It will speak again, but in a way that doesn't punish those who stood there and said nothing. Find witnesses who can validate the mundane things. The concierge who saw Genevieve come in late, with a hood. The barista who noticed Logan and Genevieve at an out-of-the-way coffee shop on a weekday morning. The clerk at the boutique hotel on the edge of town who remembers wedding planning Genevieve with a man who was not the groom. Allison volunteers to ask the barista. She recognizes the girl and knows she'll talk. Create a single slideshow, minimal text, mostly dates and images. Insert a short audio clip of Charlotte's call, where she says she warned Genevieve and calls the affair foolishness. Place it after the hospital audio so the room understands in sequence: confession, cover-up, theft. "Do we do this at the wedding?" Allison asks. She speaks the word with a little shake, like tasting something sour. "No," Noah says. "They'll box me out." They're already planning to. The rehearsal dinner is smaller, but full of all the vital people. It's where they expect formalities and good behavior. It's where they won't see us coming. What if they cut the audio? What if they kill the screen? Allison asks. She has learned to think like a saboteur because she dated one. "I'll bring a separate speaker," he says, "something battery-powered, and a spare HDMI adapter in my pocket. And if they try to pull the plug, I'll keep talking. The point isn't theatricality, it's inevitability." They pay. The waitress slips them a to-go cup of coffee each, eyes kind, as if she senses that something is ending here and wants to soften it. Outside, the sky hangs low, threatening rain. Allison pauses at the curb. "You know they'll call us vindictive," she says. "They'll say we're ruining lives." "They ruined them," Noah says, "and there's no heat in it." He's past heat now, into clarity. "We're just pointing." That night, Genevieve climbs into bed early, claiming a headache. Noah sits on the edge of the mattress and rubs her shoulders the way she likes. He meets his own reflection in the mirror across the room, a man doing kindness with hands that have learned to hold steady even when his heart shakes. "You okay?" he asks. "Just nerves," she says. "I want everything to be perfect." "It will be," he says, and he lets the sentence be true in a way she can't hear. When she sleeps, he moves to the living room and starts assembling the slideshow. He doesn't name it anything obvious. He labels it seating chart _V3 and tucks it in a folder full of benign files. Each slide is a tile in a mosaic. Date in the corner, image in the center, a caption of 4 words or fewer. There is no commentary. The facts will indict better than he ever could. He tests the audio of Charlotte's call. In one particular clip, her voice is crisp, unmistakably hers. "I warned her to stop, but she insisted it was nothing serious, just foolishness. She swore she'd settle down once the wedding was over." He lowers the volume, adjusts the EQ so it's clearer, and smiles because clarity is the enemy of the liar. He considers one more move, telling Genevieve's father in advance. The man is quieter than his wife, less performative, with the tired expression of someone who lost arguments years ago and decided to conserve his energy for weather and taxes. Noah decides against it. It would be cruel to make him the sole bearer of this weight before the others. And it might leak. No, the truth belongs to a room, to anyone who thought silence was safety. The next day, he stops by the venue to drop off a signed form the coordinator requested. The coordinator, young, efficient, an army of checklists tucked under her arm, walks him through the rehearsal schedule with brisk warmth. "Do you have a special speech planned?" she asks lightly. "I have a few words," he says, neutral. "Keep it sweet," she advises. "We've found the long speeches make people hungry and cranky." "I won't be long," he says, and he is again telling a truth inside a lie. As he leaves, he notices Charlotte across the lobby speaking to a staff member. She hasn't seen him yet. Her posture is managerial, head tilted, smile thin. He recognizes the stance of someone asking for favors she'll later call policy. He waits behind a pillar long enough to watch her gesture toward the sound booth. The staffer nods and scribbles a note. Noah steps back into the sunlight before she turns and sees him. He pockets his observation like another shard of glass for the mosaic. Control the mic, control the narrative. He will not be surprised. On the evening before the rehearsal dinner, he takes Genevieve to a quiet restaurant with dim lighting and music. Soft enough that a person can hear the truth inside their own head. He orders her favorite dish, and she relaxes at the familiar. For the length of a meal, he remembers who she once pretended to be with him. Quick to laugh, easy to touch, sweet at the edges. He wonders whether that version ever existed outside the performance. He decides not to dig that grave. Some questions have answers that salt the earth. Tomorrow, she says, taking his hand, feels like the beginning. Her eyes shine. She believes this. The audacity of it makes something in him go quiet instead of angry. It is, he says. It's definitely a beginning. They walk to the car under a sky so clear it looks scrubbed. She leans into him and rests her head on his shoulder the way she did the first time they went out, after an argument about something small and complicated. Garbage day, he remembers. A symbol for larger resentments. He opens her door. She kisses his cheek. The softness would be devastating if he let it. He doesn't. Back home, he packs a small bag as if he's heading to a routine event. Inside, he places the speaker, fully charged, 2 adapters, a USB with the slideshow, his phone and a spare battery pack, paper copies of the bank logs, a printed list of dates with columns he can point to if anyone tries to shout. Over him, and tucked into a side pocket, the ring box. He stares at the ring for a long moment. He considers throwing it into the back of a drawer, considers leaving it on the counter with a note that says, "Keep this as a reminder." He sets it in the bag instead. He wants no messy searches later. He wants every item under his control. He lies awake and rehearses not a speech but a spine. His plan is not to perform pain, it is to present proof, restrain himself, and walk out. He repeats 3 lines until they are muscle memory. There will be no wedding. The accounts are frozen. If anyone doubts what they've seen, I will share the documentation. He will not let tears be extracted from him like trophies. He will not give them the pleasure of seeing him beg. He will give them the discomfort of their own reflections. At 3 a.m., his phone buzzes. It's Allison. "Can't sleep. How are you?" "Awake," he texts back. "Ready?" She writes. "They'll try to discredit me." He answers. "They'll fail." "We won't be alone in that room. The truth will be with us. And it's louder than they are." There is a long pause. Then, "Thank you, not for tomorrow, for telling me I'm not crazy." He stares at the screen. He could write something generous and eloquent. He could write a quote about light. He writes the simplest thing instead. "You never were." When dawn comes, Genevieve moves around the kitchen in a white robe, hair in rollers, practicing a toast to her bridesmaids. Her voice lilts. She says the word forever twice in 30 seconds. He pours coffee, puts cream in hers without asking, slides the cup toward her, kisses her temple. She squeezes his waist, already turning back to her phone to scroll through a list of tasks her mother sent at 5:41 a.m. The message ends with, "Let's keep everything polished tonight." Polished. Shiny things can hide rot very well until someone switches on the right light. He suits up. He checks his bag one more time. He breathes. The garments he puts on are not just clothes. They are armor, quiet and unremarkable. He sees himself in the mirror and recognizes a man he did not expect to become. Not a cynic, not a saint, but someone who learned where his lines are and what happens when people paint over them. On the drive over, he passes the hospital. The building rises, neutral and practical. He doesn't flinch. He allows himself one clear memory. The way the monitor beeped like a metronome as Genevieve's mouth loosened around the sentence, the way Charlotte's phone slipped in her hand and didn't get picked up right away. He thanks that moment, not because it was kind, but because it was honest. Honesty, even accidental, is a ferocious friend. At a red light, he checks the slideshow name on his phone. Seating chart V3. He checks the audio clip length for Charlotte's call. 11 seconds. Perfect. He checks the bank screenshots. He checks the battery. He turns the phone face down on the seat and grips the steering wheel until the light turns green. He pulls into the venue lot just as the sun slides behind a bank of clouds. He sees unfamiliar cars, then familiar ones. Genevieve's father's truck, Charlotte's polished SUV, Logan's sedan he once rode in to baseball games, and late-night burgers. He parks far enough away that he can watch the door without being watched. People trickle in their rehearsal clothes, dresses that move and suits that never quite fit right until the tailor gets another pass. He waits until the wave thins. He lifts the bag out of the passenger seat, hoists it over his shoulder, and walks toward the door. A cool breeze lifts and presses his jacket against his back. He feels strange and sharp and absolutely awake. Inside, the room buzzes with the nervous happiness of events that assume themselves inevitable. He sees Genevieve, and she is luminous in a way that makes strangers happy. She moves toward him with arms open, and for a quick, clean second he lets her hug him. He feels her heartbeat. He thinks of the monitor. He steps back first. Charlotte materializes, smile lacquered. "You're late," she says, and the scold is a caress and a command all at once. "Right on time," he replies, and then, because he is done playing only defense, he tilts his head and adds, "Don't worry, I won't be long when it's my turn." "We've arranged the order," Charlotte says, eyes bright with warning. "Your speech will be after Genevieve's father." He smiles with every tooth and no warmth. Perfect. At the bar, Logan laughs with a cousin Noah has never liked. He catches Noah's eye, lifts his glass in a salute he must think is disarming. Noah nods once. Logan looks relaxed, like a man who believes narrative gravity will always pull things back to himself. He is wrong. People take their seats. Place cards set them into a pattern. Parents at the head table, friends spaced like a ripple. The coordinator taps the mic with 2 fingers and the room hushes. She introduces the evening's small speeches. Genevieve's father stands, awkward and earnest, and says sweet things about his daughter playing with Legos and dreaming of castles. His voice softens when he says, "May your home be happy." The room awes. Noah swallows a knot of grief that is not about Genevieve at all, but about the idea of being the man someone prays good things for. Charlotte speaks next. She is crisp and funny in the way of people who practice their quips in the mirror. She thanks the vendors by name, a power move disguised as gratitude. She says of Noah, "We are so lucky to have a rational, steady person joining our family." And he hears the dig. Be rational, be steady, be quiet. He sips water. He stares at his hands. He is steady. The coordinator nods to him. And now Noah would like to say a few words. He stands. He doesn't take the mic. He doesn't move toward the sound booth Charlotte cozied up to earlier. He stays in place and reaches into his jacket for his phone. He breathes once, a slow inhale, and then, with a small motion that looks to everyone like a man opening a note, he taps his screen. Across the room, the TV wakes up. The slideshow appears with a neutral blue background. In the hush that falls, the first slide lands like a calm bell. A date in the corner, an audio icon at the center. Noah looks at Genevieve. She blinks, confused. He taps play. Genevieve's voice fills the space, a single sentence from another room, another day, but perfectly preserved. "I slept with his best friend twice." Chairs scrape. A fork clinks and freezes. Genevieve's mouth opens. Charlotte's attention blasts toward the sound booth like a laser, Logan's face flares, pink, then ashen, and in the instant before anyone moves, before they can scramble and shout and do what people do, when a room bends toward truth, Noah lifts his phone again and cues the second slide. And that's where we'll stop for tonight. If there's one lesson to take away, it's this: the truth may hurt, but silence is what truly destroys us. Sometimes the only way to find freedom is to face the truth and bring it into the light. I'm Emily, and you've been listening to Scars and Stories. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to hit subscribe so you won't miss the next episode. Together, we'll keep uncovering stories of betrayal, justice, and the real lessons from love gone wrong. See you next time.